All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's go ahead and continue with the reactions today with My Hero Academia. Family's on the way with food, so I need to get through this, and Jujutsu so I can eat my food while it's nice and hot. Let's begin! Yo, peoples! Kyushu92 here, and welcome back to yet another live reaction to the newest chapter of My Hero Academia. Last we left out, we saw how Shigaraki took the fourth user and thus danger sense in the process. And then we found out that Shigaraki's plan is to destroy Mount Fuji, which would then destroy the rest of Japan. So now Midoriya, he still has access to a lot of his quirks, but he also needs to end this before Gear Shift ends because he's going to suffer the drawbacks of using Gear Shift more than its limits. So let's see what happens in chapter 412. And it just shows Midoriya speeding forward. Speeding forward. His whole arm is covered. His whole arm is covered in all this energy. Inside my body, focusing on defense left me immobilized. So in the meantime, I used the fifth Black Whip to flex and extend my muscles manually. The fact that this man used Black Whip inside of his body to flex his muscles so that they can still move. The ingenuity of this boy. Pushing them to the limit to build up power for the third's Fajin. And mind you, he's building up power as Shigaraki is just, like reveling in the destruction and destroying all the ground around him. Allowing me to unleash blasts of air. And he opens up his hand. Delaware Smash! Chapter 412, History's Maddest Hero. And Shigaraki puts his hands up as this gigantic shockwave of air just tears through the forest straight towards Shigaraki. And Midoriya is also thinking about all the times where he focused and it shows Midoriya focusing his power on the tip of his finger, the moments where he couldn't control One for All in the early stages of his life, early stages of having the quirk. We see him preparing to throw the ball, him flicking in order to create shockwaves, him using like his shoot style in order to create shockwaves, and he just takes his arm and it blows off the glove that he's wearing. And the thing is, he's moving so fast that it actually creates an updraft underneath his fists, where it tears through the ground and creates this gigantic wind tunnel of air that just completely envelops the forest. And Shigaraki gets swept up as he goes, "Gotta say, that's peak performance, Midoriya. He predicted the path and range of my decay, and used that wind blast to gouge out the land and blow it away. By removing a medium for my power to travel through, he can delay the advance of my destructive force. Still, it's only a stopgap measure," as Shigaraki uses these other shockwaves in order to, fly high up in the air. He flies in the air, and then he uses it to propel himself right back down. "I'll apply my personal touch as many times as it takes." And he starts flying, but he notices that the dust cloud isn't dissipating. "The dust cloud isn't dispersing." And then we see these black whips tear up out of the ground as they're preparing to grab onto Shigaraki. "Sure, I get it." And wow. And it shows Midoriya. Just come out of the smoke with extreme force and completely takes off Shigaraki's arm. He just punches Shigaraki's arm and it takes it off completely. And then he just disappears into the smoke again. "I applied the second gear shift in low gear to the sixth smoke screen, holding the cloud in place. Let me see. Then, unleashing the fifth Black Whip while Shigaraki's vision was obscured, caused the fourth danger sense to set off a constant alarm in his head. And now, in the meantime..." And then he's thinking back to Lady Nagant. "After all, I know the risks of relying too heavily on danger sense because of his fight with Lady Nagant, and it almost cost him. And then we have the fourth. Going to such lengths to store up power, but ninth. And then Shigaraki's looking through the smoke as he goes, Shigaraki's search quirk will lead him right to you. And then, yeah, because he has the ability to search for quirks, and he zones in on Midoriya. And he unleashes those black tendrils, those black spiky red and black tendrils. And it erupts, and some of them kind of pierce through Midoriya a little bit. I see all, remember? Your location and your weaknesses. And then we go back to Ragdoll, because Ragdoll had that ability before All For One took that from her.
I know everything about anyone I lay eyes on, up to 100 people at a time.
And Shigaraki's going, can't catch your breath, huh? Because Midoriya is having a hard time breathing. His eyes are clouded over. And then we have Banjo. Gear Shift's time is up, and here comes the recoil. And those charged up attacks? Not meant for willy-nilly rapid fire either. As Shigaraki's arm just completely regenerates. I can tell you're reinforcing your tendons and muscles from the inside. It's clear enough since those black coils show right through your skin. And if you smack me head on with one of those moves, I might not manage to put myself back together. But life's tough when you've got so much you want to protect. Right, Midoriya? And then Midoriya, still tired, goes, like I told you, I'm not giving up on that crying boy. And Midoriya proceeds to kick towards Shigaraki. People interpret the world around them through such narrow, limited windows. And everyone is seeing this fight go on. Civilians are watching this fight between Midoriya and Shigaraki. What's going on?
Can't see a thing.
They're too far from the camera. When the world throws the inexplicable at them, they concoct rationales to put themselves at ease. Now you're cramming me into your narrow worldview, like a square peg into a round hole. You see it all, yeah? In the same way I can see your ghost buddies. One for All gives you a peek inside me. That's how you kept track of me, even in the smoke. Well, take a closer look. I overcame and buried that crying little kid a while back. It's my worldview that's taken over. The boy's gone. Only I'm left. Me, Tomura Shigaraki. And I'm doing just peachy. And Shigaraki has just lost his mind. Then Nana Shimura shows up. And then it shows Midoriya.
I want to save that little boy.
And then a voice is going, give it up. And I think this is Nana speaking to Midoriya.
There are some people out there who can't be saved, Izuku. In the face of the ideals you carry as a hero, he represents an insurmountable challenge, an impenetrable wall you don't need to overcome. Your only option is to annihilate him in a single blow, leaving nothing behind. Accept that fact. Grin and bear it, Izuku. Charge up for a strike even mightier than before.
And then Midoriya goes, no. I have to ask why he can't let go of that sad, lonely past of his. And then it shows Nana, who's tearing up after hearing Midoriya's words. All he did was put a lid on it. And then it shows Shigaraki, like in a previous flashback. You ignored those you couldn't protect and swept all their pain under the rug. And then Midoriya, with clouded over eyes, bloodied face. This boy is at his wit's end. There's no more that Midoriya can do. So until that lid shatters to pieces, I won't stop smashing away at it! And then it shows, I want to say the second, as he goes, this is why I was so opposed. It's arrogant thinking born of a naive, peace-addled existence. I'm trying to figure out the correct way to read this panel. The desire to save one's arch... Okay, I think I know how to do this. This is why I was so opposed. The desire to save one's archenemies is delusional madness. A madness that disrupts our destined path. It's arrogant thinking born of a naive, peace-addled existence. But having observed from within, I know the truth. That this boy clings to one driving notion. That anyone, whether the most vile among us, or even the quirkless, that inside each one of us beats an innately human heart. I too want to believe. Wow, so Midoriya has even convinced the most pragmatic member of everyone here. And then it shows a finger pointing forward. And the finger pointing forward, I believe, belonged to All Might. Like, back in his muscly form, it was pointing, he's pointing, and then the second looks at the vestige of All Might. And then he looks forward. Then he looks forward, and then the second just looks with wide eyes. Call me a fan. Or a saccharine? Call me a fan of saccharine sentiment. But now you have to do exactly as I say. I'm betting everything on you, Ninth. The time has come to part ways with One for All. Wow! And it shows the last thing we see is when Midoriya was knelt in front of All Might. Wow, the time has come to part ways with One for All. Wow. Isn't that Star and Stripe? Is it? Did I get that wrong? Is that Star and Stripe? Hold on. Hold on, let me look at her. Oh, yeah, it is. It is Star and Stripe. I'm sorry. CDs, good to see you. So the chapter ends. Oh, wow. I'm sorry. I had the wrong chat up. My bad. I forgot to refresh it. My bad. Hold on, let me... Hold on. Let me make sure. Let me copy the chat. Restore chat. There we go. Yes, there we go. All right, we're good. So the chapter just ends with them saying it's time to part ways. Time to part ways with One for All. But yeah, it's Star and Stripe's hand. I don't know why her hand is there, so I'm curious about that. Yeah, that is kind of curious. Why does her hand show up? Why does her hand show up all of a sudden? That's her hand. So why does it why does it show up? She wasn't a user of One for All. So this means Deku is going to give Shigaraki One for All? I don't know if that's what that means. I don't think that's what that means. This is an interesting chapter. We got Midoriya who's using Black Whip and everything. Just this man's arm had pretty much his whole right side was left immobilized. So he's using Black Whip to contract and flex his own muscle so he can still use it competently. But man, okay, so let me read through this. Chapter notes, Deku continues to fight Tomura using Delaware Smash to destroy the decayed land and using his quirks to keep him contained, but Tomura once again gains the upper hand. Tomura reveals that deep within him, he has buried Tenko Shimura, declaring that his worldview has taken over and that all Deku is doing is trying to push his onto him. Nana tries to convince Deku that Tomura can't be saved and to finish him off, but Deku still stands his ground, believing all Tomura did was put a lid over his pain and wants to smash it. The seemingly alive vestige of Star and Stripe appears before the One For All users, giving Kudo a plan. So that's the curious thing. How? How is Star and Stripe showing up? Just here for you. I don't watch MHA. How am I feeling? I still got the coughs and everything, so family's on the way with food, so I'm just waiting on them. I still got to get through Jujutsu Kaisen, and then I'll eat once they get here. But I'm curious how seemingly a vestige of Star and Stripe just showed up. Because Star and Stripe never had One For All at all. And usually the only way you can have a vestige of another person is if you have... is if they've had One For All and their vestiges were left over. So how did Star and Stripe show up and give the second an idea? That's curious. Let me go back, because let me read this whole paragraph down here. In the Vestige realm, Kudo tells the other users that was why he opposed him, thinking his desire to save one's archenemy a delusional madness that will disrupt their destined path. He says it's arrogant thinking born of naivete. However, having observed from within, he knows the truth, that Deku clings to one driving notion, that anyone, whether the most vile among them or the quirkless, each one of them has an innately human heart, which he wants to believe. Suddenly, a star-crested hand points through the Vestige realm, which All Might and Kudo both notice. Kudo then tells Deku that he has to do exactly as he says, betting everything on him, and that the time has come to part ways with One For All. I think we're about to see the grand crux of this. I think we're about to see the grand crux of this fight. You don't just say, like, I think it's time to part ways with One For All. You don't just casually say that, and the fight is not near its end. They say One For All and All For One are connected. Interesting. We just got to see where this goes. The plan can't be for Deku to go to Shigaraki's Vestige world by him taking One For All, since Deku should have a Vestige Ghost, too. That feels way too risky. We don't know what the plan is, though. We have no idea what the plan is. We're just going to have to see. This is interesting, though. Those are some foreboding words. Because how many of us thought that we were just going to have Midoriya succeed in the end, and he still has One For All, and he holds on to it for the rest of his life? How many of us thought that was just going to be the case? Now we get this chapter saying, like, I think it's time to part ways with One For All? What? That just throws a wrench in a lot of our plans from the very moment we saw him get One For All, use it all this time, and then go through all of these chapters, wondering what would happen next. Now we're in a situation where we got to think about my hero without One For All in it. All because of this one chapter. I don't know what else to say. This was a good chapter. This was actually a good chapter. That's a guess I had, but that does feel right after all. I thought all quirks would be gone by the end of the story. Like, all quirks just gone from the world? No, they're not. They're not. Quirks are actually getting more and more evolved as the story go on. So it's not like quirks are just going to be gone. It's not like that. It's not like in Fire Force, at the end of Fire Force, where everyone's pyrokinetic powers are, you know, it's not like that. I don't think that it's just going to be a whole world without quirk users in it, because I don't think it's going to end that way. But overall, I did enjoy this chapter. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm probably going to eat, and then I'll do Jujutsu Kaisen, because I don't want to push myself, and I want to take a moment to eat for myself. This was a good chapter. But now I'm just wondering, okay, if we're going to be saying goodbye to One For All, this better be it. because ain't no way Midoriya is going to be able to beat Shigaraki and he ain't got no quirk. I'm just saying, this, whatever plan Kudo has, it better work. Because this will be the last time that Midoriya will ever be able to pull it off. That's just me. But we'll see. Overall, ladies and gentlemen, I enjoyed this chapter, and I'm looking forward to the next one, because we are not going on break. Like I said, I'm going to eat first, and then I'll do my reaction to Jujutsu Kaisen. But I also got to get myself some stuff from my throat, because it's getting like really dry very quickly. I apologize for all the coughing. I really want to get out of this sickness as quickly as possible, so I can get back to being 100% and the big old bundle of energy that you guys know and love. But yeah, good chapter. Actually, you know, the 2 chapters that we got today, both of One Piece and My Hero, were all extremely solid chapters. And I'm looking forward to seeing what Jujutsu has to offer. But I'm done, ladies and gentlemen. Hope you all enjoyed. Can't wait to see you all in my next video. Like, comment, subscribe, become a member, because I am always looking forward to entertaining you. So have a fantastic day. And once again, as always, later, peoples.